Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a really substantial update that's going to immediately impact your day-to-day developer workflows. I'm talking about Claude Code version 2.1.166. This release is a beast. It touches on everything from rock-solid reliability and tighter security to granular tool permissions and some much-needed terminal bug fixes. If you're relying on Claude Code every day, grab a coffee, because we're going to get you completely up to speed.
So look, we've all been there, right? You're totally in the zone, your agentic workflow is just humming along, you're compiling, generating, and then bam! You hit a sudden API limit or some unexpected error pops up, or even worse, you're just left staring at this completely silent progress bar, wondering, did my terminal just freeze on me? It is incredibly frustrating, and it totally derails your momentum. Well, the developers behind Claude Code have clearly been listening to these exact pain points, because this new update takes aim right at that friction.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Unstoppable workflows and fallback models. 2. Tighter security and permissions. 3. Taking control of thinking. And 4. Crucial quality of life fixes.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Unstoppable Workflows and Fallback Models. Honestly, this is arguably the headline feature of the 2.1.116 update. It acts as the ultimate safety net when you're dealing with, network instability or heavy server loads. And the magic number here is 3. Claude Code introduces this brand new fallback model setting. Basically, you can now specify a prioritized list of up to 3 fallback models. So if your primary model is overloaded or just experiencing a random hiccup, Claude Code doesn't just crash or hang anymore. Instead, it automatically tries the next model on your list. It's literally a built-in safety net for your productivity. Oh, and previously, the fallback model flag was only for non-interactive use. But as of this update, it works flawlessly right inside your interactive sessions too.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how this safety net deploys in real time. Let's say you're on step 1, using your primary model, feeling good. Then, suddenly step 2 hits. You get an unexpected non-retriable API error. In the old days, you just fail out and have to restart the whole prompt. But now, step 3 automatically kicks in. Claude Code will retry that failed turn once on your designated fallback model. It creates this incredibly resilient loop, basically keeping your session moving forward even when the API environment is, well, less than perfect.
Now, there is a very important technical carve-out here that you definitely need to be aware of. Not every single error is going to trigger that silent retry. If you hit authorization failures, rate limits, request size errors, or transport errors, those are still going to surface immediately in your terminal. And this is totally by design. I mean, think about it. You really wouldn't want the system silently spinning its wheels and burning through fallback models if, say, your auth token has just expired, or if your payload is fundamentally way too large, right?
Moving right along to Section 2, Tighter Security and Permissions.
As we rely more and more on these complex, agentic workflows where tools are literally executing commands on our behalf, the stakes for proper security configurations get so much higher. Just look at the old way of blocking tools versus the new way. Deny rules in Claude Code now support glob patterns right in the tool name position. The practical upshot of this is absolutely massive. You can literally just drop an asterisk, the star symbol, as the tool name in a deny rule, and boom, it blocks all tools in a single line. It's a fantastic default deny approach. And on the flip side, allow rules will now actively reject non-MCP globs, which is a brilliant safeguard to stop you from accidentally over-permissioning your environment.
Speaking of safeguards, the system as a whole is just so much more communicative now. Back in the day, if you made a typo or accidentally used an unknown tool name in a deny rule, the system might have just silently ignored it, which, let's be honest, leaves you with a false sense of security and a massive headache later when you're trying to troubleshoot. But now, Claude Code throws a crystal clear misconfiguration warning right at startup. It literally stops you before you even begin, pointing out the unknown tool name so you can go in and fix your permissions immediately.
So the crucial point to understand here is how this update handles cross-session messaging. If you're someone who runs multiple Claude sessions, you really need to know about privilege escalation. In plain English, this is a vulnerability where a message relayed from one session to another, say if you're using a tool like Send Message, incorrectly carries your user authority along with it. Well, version 2.1.116 actively shuts this down. Messages relayed via Send Message from one Claude session to another absolutely no longer carry user authority, period.
And they take it a step further. The receiving session will now completely refuse any relayed permission requests.
Oh, and if you're running in auto mode now blocks those relayed permission requests outright. There's no workaround. This is a massive, massive hardening of the cross-session architecture. It essentially guarantees that a relayed message can never, ever be used to escalate privileges it shouldn't have access to in the first place.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, taking control of thinking.
So, with the rise of models that think before they spit out an output, users have been practically begging for more transparency and manual control over when and how those compute cycles are actually being used. Well, ask and you shall receive. You now have incredibly granular direct control over thinking on models that think by default via the Claude API. If you want to completely suppress the thinking process, maybe you want extra speed or it's just a simple query, you have 3 really fast ways to do it. You can set the environment variable max thinking tokens to 0. You can just pass the -thinking disabled flag right there in your command line, or you can use the super handy built-in per model thinking toggle.
Now, just a really quick technical caveat for all our power users out there, please keep in mind that third-party API providers are actually not affected by this specific change. These suppression controls only apply when you are hitting the Claude API directly, so just keep that in your back pocket when you're designing your specific tooling stack.
And hey, while we're on the topic of system transparency, I have to highlight this incredibly small, but honestly, super welcome usability fix. When you run a cloud update command now, the CLI will actually announce the target version before it even starts downloading. No more just staring blindly at a silent progress bar, wondering what version you're about to install, or frankly, if the command just hung entirely. It is a tiny detail, but man, it removes that little bit of momentary daily friction.
Which brings us nicely to Section 4, Crucial Quality of Life Fixes.
Beyond the major workflow and security overhauls we just talked about, the 2.1.1616 release went deep into the weeds to build a much more frictionless experience across all the major platforms. Let's move through this and see how this builds up. For those of you on JetBrains IDEs like IntelliJ, PyCharm, or WebStorm running 2026.1 or newer, that incredibly annoying terminal flickering, yeah, totally fixed via synchronized output. If you're someone who uses terminal emulators with the Kitty keyboard protocol, like WesTerm or Ghosty, issues where shift plus non-ASCII characters were randomly being dropped are completely resolved now. Over on Windows and PowerShell, they squashed a really nasty bug where command validation could literally just hang indefinitely if a killed process's children held the output pipes. And for the macOS users watching, you are going to be thrilled to know they finally fixed that brutal issue where orphaned background processes were spinning up and locking your CPU at 100%.
And rounding out these awesome quality of life improvements, voice mode users, you no longer have to run a clunky /logging command just to clear a stale auth check after toggling voice on and off. Huge time saver. Finally, for teams out there using managed settings, this is big. An invalid entry will no longer silently disable the enforcement of all your other remaining valid policies. Overall, the whole shebang is just tighter, more communicative, and a lot more resilient.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. How are you going to use these new fallback models and glob pattern security rules to change the resilience of your own agentic setup today? It is absolutely worth updating your CLI right this second to take advantage of all this. And as always, if you want the full plain English guide to Claude Code and literally everything else Claude related, the complete manual lives over at claudemaster.net. Thank you so much for hanging out with me to break down this update. Keep building absolutely amazing things, and I'll see you right back here in the next explainer.